Good morning. Welcome to Business with Apostle Dwayne. So, today we're going to do part 4 of You Only Get What You Negotiate, which is a study in the life of Jacob. Now, negotiation is a key negotiation is a key necessity in every person's life. What we don't a lot of times think about is the fact that everything that you need is actually in someone else's hands. And the process of you getting what you need is really transfer from what someone else has to what you have. For instance, if you have a skill, whatever that skill is, I don't care if you're a singer, dancer, if you're a designer, a builder, whatever. If you're making that product just for you, then there is no one to sell it to. And so that's just something you're doing for yourself. But if you're making something that you want for other people, then what you make, or I'm sorry, if you're selling something that you're going to use to support your life, then what you make has to be something that someone else wants. Now, there's multiple ways of making that part happen as far as them knowing as them wanting it. Because if you're making something that they don't even know about or know even exists or something like that, that is one thing. But if you're making a product that is already well received in the market and that there's already people producing and it's already making a lot of money, well, then that is a completely different deal. But the bottom line is someone has to want what you make. And so either there's market already developed, meaning there's people already producing that and there's already a market and whatnot, or you're going to create a market. But either way, someone has to want what you have. And then let's say you go through the process of educating them on the product, or you're going to a market that's already developed. And if it's a market that's already developed, that means that there's people already there making that thing. And so the question is, why would they choose yours over choosing someone else? And so your product has to be competitive. So understand that competition is everywhere. Everything is competitive. There's a competition for everything, everybody. It's all competition. Everything in this life is competition. So you have to be willing and ready to embrace the competition, because you're in it whether you know it or not. You're already in that competition. You were in a competition when you went to apply for your job and all kinds of things. And so now once you have something, let's say you've set it up where people want it, and now you're in the market and you're competing, well, now that is where the negotiation comes in. How much do people pay you for that thing? How much do you get back for your time and effort that you spent doing that? You see, and so they have to, there's an interaction between them saying I want it and you giving it to them, you receiving payment, and them going off with their goods. So that in that process there is negotiation. You could sell something for $100, or you could sell that same thing for $1, or you could sell that same thing for $100,000. I'm not saying that this is, the bottom line is whatever that thing will get is the actual value. The highest amount that thing will get is the actual value of that item. And so if I'm selling something to the wrong market, I might not get the right amount for it. But if I'm selling it to the right market, I can get way more. And so it just really depends on what you're selling and who you're trying to sell it to. And so there's a whole number of things that are involved when you're talking about the skill of negotiation. This is vitally important, whether you're an employee or an employer, whether you're the owner of a business or the manager, you name it. Negotiation is the process of interacting with someone and transacting something to make for you to get paid. Okay, this is very important, and in our community, a lot of times we don't think about negotiation. Negotiation is an art. It's a skill. It's a very important, vital thing in your life. And so here in part 4, so I've already spent 3 episodes talking about negotiation, and we've been examining. First, we examined the life of Abraham, and his involvement in negotiation. That was amazing. Okay, now here Abraham was a man of faith, but he still, when he was dealing with people, he negotiated. You know, a lot of times we don't realize that just because you have faith doesn't mean that you're not still in a gritty, grimy, dirty world. You have to be able to function. Jesus said, "Occupy until I return." Okay, he didn't say occupy until you get saved and then poof, you're out of here. No, he said occupy till I return. That means as long as you're here, you have to occupy. And how do you do that? You have to take territory, you know, and you're just involved in life. And it's vitally important that what you have right now is a process, or is based on what you've negotiated. Your relationships, your lifestyle, your friendships, your not friendships. I mean, everything that you have right now in your life came about as either you did negotiate or you didn't. You negotiated wisely or poorly. You know, there's a number of reasons that affect why you have what you have, and probably the biggest one, that if you're not enjoying the circumstances that you want, is the fact that you didn't negotiate up front. You have to be clear. You know, you have to, you know, whenever you enter relationships, you name it, this negotiating, you know, is vitally important, and a lot of things are on ongoing negotiation. Okay, so I mean, we could talk about this for days and days, and the way I see it playing out is I'm going to just continue going with this until I feel that I've covered enough on it that that you know, that it's been sufficiently done. But the bottom line is there's so much more to talk about on this show, Business with Apostle Dwayne. Now, I suggest you go back and see the previous 3 episodes I did on negotiation, and then also check out the other videos that I did on Business with Apostle Dwayne too, because I'm covering a lot of different aspects of life and where it concerns business. And to be honest with you, everything is business. Everything is business. Your whole life is business. Your whole life is entrepreneurial. The whole Bible is entrepreneurial. I can go on, but let me go ahead and get into the message for today, because this is where we're going to, where you're going to start to see, you know, what it is that I'm saying. All right, so let's go here to, so in last week, where I left off, I believe, was when I was talking about Jacob, and so he had turned the tables on Laban. Laban had taken advantage of him, taken all his money, or actually didn't take a. He basically did what we call snookered. He tricked him out of a deal, you know, and so Jacob worked for him for quite a while to pay off the deal. He agreed with Laban to pay the dowry for one wife. He would work for him for 7 years. Well, Laban, you know, tricked him into working for him for 14 years. And then once Jacob realized, okay, this 14 years I worked for this guy, I've made him wealthy, and now I know my own worth and whatnot. And so now Jacob is realizing, okay, so now I got to turn the table on this guy. So probably on the 14th year, as soon as he paid off his debt for the second wife, or for the first wife that he paid for twice really, and got the other one thrown in for free, basically, you know, probably on the day that he finished his 14 years, he was like, okay, let me go. I'm okay, Laban, I'm gonna leave now. And so now here, Laban wasn't ready for that. Laban wasn't prepared for that. Laban probably thought he was happy in his bondage. Many of us are in a situation working for someone or wherever, and you may be unfulfilled, and the people that you're working for, you know, they may not care about that. They may not care about your fulfillment and whether or not you're happy in the place that you're at. And so you have to be aware of that. And I talked about that last week. In last week's message, I talked about quite a bit about how to understand who people are and how they appreciate you and whatnot. And so, and and really, it comes down to, it really doesn't matter how they feel about you and how they appreciate you. What matters is what you get out of the deal, and whether or not you are comfortable with what you get out of the deal, because you can't really determine how people feel and whether or not they appreciate or whatnot. All you can do is measure to see. Okay, and so again, I suggest you go back and get that other message because it will help you. All right, and so now, and this is Genesis 31:1, well, I left off with the well, here, I'll go ahead and do it anyway. In Genesis 31:1, and he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and all that which was our father hath gotten, and he hath gotten all his glory. Right? So Jacob took the glory that Laban had, that really Jacob gave him, because when Jacob arrived, Laban had very little. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. See, Laban was happy when Jacob was making him a bunch of money, right? In verse 31:3, and the Lord said unto Jacob, return unto the land of thy fathers, unto thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And so Jacob has spent 14 years here working for Laban. And so he said, okay, now it's time to go back, and I'll be with you. Because, Jacob also, yeah, he had to go back, but he also had to face his brother Esau. And Jacob he wasn't in a position to face Esau, because Esau had spent 14 years growing his territory and probably getting people to himself and building himself an army. Because when you read the end of this later on, when Jacob goes back there, Esau shows up with like 500 men or something like that. So, Esau had been busy while Jacob was over here with Laban. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock. And this is his two wives, who also had given him two under wives of them, because they were competing against one another. Remember, I told you, competition and everything. And he said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the God of my father hath been with me. You see, Jacob, you have to be perceptive. Jacob not only was watching the situation and making shrewd moves. Remember, in last week's episode, I showed you how he turned the tables on Laban, but he was also observant. You have to be observant. You got to keep your head on the swivel and see what's going on around you at all times. And that's how you can see, like, once you get really good at whatever it is your skill, whatever business that you're in or whatever skill, you can see things coming. After you've been in it for a while, and you know the ebb and the flow, the ups and the downs, the backwards and the forwards and whatnot, you can see trends, and you get to where you know what's getting ready to happen. You know when a rush is going to come. You know when you're getting ready when you're not prepared for the next season and things like that. Once you've been doing it for a while, that experience, that knowledge is very powerful. That gives you an advantage over someone who's just got book learning, or someone who hasn't been doing it for a long time, or someone who's just new, or someone who's got high level training but they never did it. See, when you're in something and you know how to do it, that's power. I remember I was working for this dealership, and there was this manager who he was basically brought into the business as he was married into the family. And because he was married into the family, it was always easy for him. They were always giving him deals. They were always promoting them and things. And he didn't really have to perform to get those to eat. He didn't have to perform to eat. He didn't have to perform to get promotions and whatnot. Where other people who had to get there on their skill, they knew how to eat. They had a skill that they could take with them anywhere. But if he left that dealership group, he was going to fail. No matter, and because if you can't do something, you can't teach it and you can't manage it. Understand that a lot of times the hardship that you're dealing with, or that God sends you into a place where you're going through hard things, is to grow you up and give you the ability to get wealth. Okay? I'm almost to the end of my time. And he said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that is not toward me as before, but the God of my father have been with me. So regardless of what your father did, God was still going to bless me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father to a degree. He's selling here. Jacob's selling because he was serving him with all his power the first 7 years. But that last 7 years, he wasn't serving him with all his power. And in the time frame since then, he wasn't serving him with all of his power. Okay? He was bitter. All right? And now your father had deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. So God protected me even though your father was mistreating me. Okay? And if he said thus, the speckle shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckle. And if he said thus, the ring straight shall be thy hire, and then all the cattle bear ring straight. Now, here again, so Jacob, now he knows who he's married to. I talked about that in the last episode. But he didn't tell them how they bared the speckled and how they bared the ring straight, because he did that. That was his own private technology, which he held to himself. Okay? And thus God had taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. All right? So basically, whatever deal Laban made after that point, once Jacob got hip to the game, Jacob was going to make sure, and God was going to make sure it worked out to Jacob's favor. And it came to pass that at the time the cattle conceived, that if I lifted up my eyes that I lifted up mine eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring straight, speckled, and grizzled. And the angel of God spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see all the rams which leap upon the cattle, and the ring straight, and speckled, and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban hath done unto thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowedest unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred. Okay? Well, and Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there any portion of inheritance for us in our father's house? And are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us, and hath quite devoured also our money. And for all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's, now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. So here now, Rachel and Leah recognize something, so Laban had sold them to Jacob as far as their dowry, and they didn't feel, they felt violated by that. And they also saw that Laban had decreased, and that all the wealth of the dowry which Jacob had basically paid for them was now in Jacob's hands anyway. So they didn't really have a reason to stay. Let me tell you, a lot of times this is a point where it should make some. A lot of times, when it says leave and cleave, a lot of times this is a big problem for people in their marriages, because you have to recognize that your spouse is now your family primarily, and if you made a good pick on both sides, the man for the woman for the man, now you have a teammate that's there to help you, regardless of who comes in and tries to come in there. But where we have so much trouble now is that so many people don't respect that. Whether it's in the marriage or outside of the marriage, people just violate that one thing, and it causes divisions and things. But if you're united and you have the right understanding, then you'll be wise, and you'll make strong moves. The woman will help the man and bless him, and the man will help the woman and bless her, and the two of you will fight the inside-outside game together. And that's a whole other thing to discuss. But the bottom line here is that here Jacob, he didn't, in his wisdom, Jacob, before he decided to make a move where Laban was concerned, because really Jacob was already planning on leaving, but he decided to have a meeting with his wives before he had the meeting with Laban. And then in actuality here, what you're going to see play out, and we'll discuss this further in the next episode, is that he didn't actually have another meeting with Laban beforehand before he made a move. You see, sometimes you got to learn who you're dealing with, and the element of surprise is necessary. When to use that in a negotiation, you always want to have, in a negotiation, you always want to have some cards that you keep close to yourself that you're not just telling everybody. Okay, so that's the end of today's message in Business with Apostle Dwayne. There's not going to be a Your Money with Apostle Dwayne. There's some of the episodes I'm going to be discontinuing after today, and I may bring back later. But this is the last one. Actually yesterday was the last one I did a live stream on. This one I'm pre-recording and I'm going to upload to a live stream. But after that, they're all just going to be pre-recorded. All right, so thank you for joining me. And if you like the message, please like and subscribe and tell people about these, because these are designed. What I'm trying to do, what I'm doing is I'm sharing revelation from God to help you move now, help you accelerate now, help you uplift your life now. That's my assignment. God has given me an assignment to help raise millions of millionaires in the Black community. And that's why I'm doing this. So if you appreciate these messages, please like, subscribe, and check out my website, apostledwayne.com. I've got a great book, Overflow Agents, there, and there's just a lot of wisdom and power that God wants you to have. And the one thing, let me make this one point. The one thing that Jacob really had, the edge that he had, was the miraculous power of God. When you got God on your side, when you have Him on your side, you got everything. If you know how to move, He gives you wisdom to operate. It's very important. It's vitally important. And so I hope you get this message, and hope you get this understanding but you can't get the wisdom and the revelation of God if you're not in Christ anyway. So that's the main thing. You got to get that part right, and then He'll bless the work of your hands if you care about what He cares about. And so a lot of that's in my book, Overflow Agents, which is going to help you learn how to be entrepreneurial, how to be a kingdom minister, how to be a miraculous entrepreneur in Christ. I mean, it's part of your heritage, part of your assignment, and every believer needs to understand this, because time's going to get tough and you got to have something. All right, so I'm going ahead and go, and I'll see you next time on Business with Apostle Dwayne. Actually, I'm going to have broadcasts of Just Truth and some others this week, so just like normal. All right, so thank you.